Remember when I said I was going to be streaming all month and there was nothing else going on? I lied. I'm going to be at DreamHack Atlanta casting Stormgate, the first ever Stormgate show match with Tastosis. I'm super fucking excited. I've been waiting to announce this for a little bit. December 17th, right before the StarCraft 2 finals. I'm super, super pumped for this. We're going to be reacting to a Stormgate video. But I hope you guys join us.
It seems like the forces of the underworld are a bit upset we didn't get any StarCraft news at BlizzCon this year. But Frost Giant, where many veterans of Blizzard's now defunct RTS team have banded together, is giving us the closest thing we'll probably ever get to a StarCraft 3 with Stormgate.
So in this video, we're taking a closer look at the Infernals. By the way, it seems like they've updated the panel down here at the bottom. It is looking a lot slicker, a lot cleaner. I have not been able to play this race very much yet. If you guys saw that commercial I did for LG with Moon, we were playing in that version, but I was so busy at the time, I only got to play like during the filming of the commercial itself.
And over the last few months,
And I think the beta is just around the corner, so I'm going to be testing him out very soon here. But this is the new race. We have 2 races now that we're getting a very in-depth look at.
Gotten up close and personal with its second major faction, the Infernal Host. These are the bad boys of the upcoming RTS, and if you were a Zerg main in StarCraft, I think they'll make you feel right.
So, from what I gather with this, yeah, I think the reporter's correct, right? This is like the Zerg-ish race. It does seem like there's a creep function, although it doesn't appear to be close to what StarCraft 2 creep is. I'm not sure, but hold on.
Home.
By the way, looks like Banelings, or at least something with massive splash damage.
That home might be covered in spikes and actively on fire, but I'm not here to judge.
Glad you could make it.
We gotta move. Now. There's a storm coming.
Much like...
So this, by the way, you know, if you guys have been watching my other videos, we've been nostalgia tripping with Warcraft 2. Totally the 2-headed ogre, right, from Warcraft 2. Or I guess maybe even Warcraft 1. I think there were 2-headed ogres in Warcraft 1 as well.
Like StarCraft's Zerg or Warcraft 3's Undead.
I was thinking more Warcraft 3's Orcs, to be honest, but I guess, yeah, I could see a little bit of the Undead here.
Infernal Host is Stormgate's spread corruption across the map faction, with a new mechanic called Shroud that swirls in a radius around your main base building and defensive towers. Unlike the Zerg,
I do like the way it looks, the Shroud.
and Undead, you don't have to build on Shroud. You can plop structures down
Oh,
anywhere you want.
Okay. See, I have not really been able to mess with this race yet. I'm going to obviously play and prep for the cast in Atlanta, but I didn't realize that. So you don't actually build in the Shroud.
But Infernal units standing on it will slowly fill up a secondary health bar, what the devs are currently just calling white health.
So it's kind of like, it's not like a pylon energy radius. It's not like Zerg Creep in that the structures have to be on there, but I guess it's almost like it's a giant StarCraft 2 shield battery, maybe? Only in the sense that I guess you can only charge up your shields or your second hit points by being in it. Very interesting.
That makes them extra tanky. This is a...
Now, I don't know if that's an armor buff or if it's an actual extra HP bar, but that would lead me to believe... Thank you for the sub, Gauntlet. I have my alerts paused here. It is, I'm going to be in Atlanta. Excellent, man. You got to come say hi to me while we're down there. That would lead me to believe that the Infernals would be very weak without the second HP bar. I don't know for sure. This is just me speculating.
Great natural deterrent to early harassment, since even your workers get access to it. White health begins to degrade when you're not standing on Shroud, though. This encouraged me...
White health degrades when you're not standing on Shroud. You know, it's so funny. There's so many concepts that haven't really been toyed with RTS. This is really interesting. It's a lot to wrap your head around. So you could basically charge up on Shroud, but if you're gone, I guess it diminishes or dissipates. So you could probably have rushes where you'd have maybe some kind of Shroud thing outside their base, and then you try to attack them.
To build up a huge critical mass of troops on my shroud and then send them in all at once while they were at their beefiest. Little groups of units don't necessarily do well deploying to far corners of the map where they can't top up. Though, of course, you can always set up forward outposts if you need a little more juice. These wave tactics are encouraged by other Infernal mechanics too. For instance, their units build instantly, but
this kind of
building...
reminds me of the Command and Conquer Obelisk, by the way. Did you guys play the original Command and Conquer? I feel like most people played Red Alert, but I did actually grow up on the original one. I actually like the original Command and Conquer better than Red Alert, but I'm definitely getting Obelisk vibes there. Maybe not as much damage. That did melt infantry, but infantry kind of functioned a little bit differently in Command and Conquers. There was several things that could one-shot them or run them over.
Only has so many spawn charges, which take time to refresh. So if you hold off on building units for a while, you can build a whole bunch really fast. This allows for some fairly brutal timing and tempo pushes, with the demon hordes coming in waves rather than a trickle to the front line.
Wait, I gotta go back. Did I miss something? What did he say? I might have been thinking about this tower too much. I think I don't...
For instance, their units build instantly, but each building only has so many spawns.
Wait, I gotta go back even further.
Wave tactics are encouraged by other Infernal mechanics too.
Okay, hold on. Let's just go back.
Shroud, though. This encouraged me to build up a huge critical mass of troops on my shroud and then send them in all at once while they were at their beefiest. Little groups of units don't necessarily do well deploying to far corners of the map where they can't top up. Though, of course, you can always set up forward outposts if you need a little more juice. These wave tactics are encouraged by other Infernal mechanics too. For instance, their units build instantly, but each building only has so many spawn charges, which take time to refresh.
Okay, so the units build instantly, but they only have a certain amount of spawn time. So it's almost like you would instantly... You have larvae, I guess, but you can instantly hatch the eggs, if that makes sense. Like Warp Gate. I guess it's kind of a mix of the two, right? It looks like Warp Gate plus larva or something like that.
So if you hold off on building units for a while, you can build a whole bunch really fast.
So that seems like it would really reward good scouting. Like, you can basically bank what the units is going to be. I might be maining this race, by the way. Even though this looks like more like Zerg. Like, in Warcraft 3, I played humans. I mean, I played, both in Warcraft 2, but I don't think that really has... The races are pretty similar to each other in Warcraft 2. And then, obviously, I played Protoss in StarCraft 1 and 2. But I'm really interested in this race.
This allows for some fairly brutal timing and tempo pushes, with the demon hordes coming in waves rather than a trickle to the front line.
Excuse me.
The Infernal Host is designed to be a faction where you don't sweat the deaths of a couple hundred minions. There are plenty more where that came from, and you have worlds to conquer. In fact, you want to see both sides' population numbers drop, as this faction collects a unique resource called Animus every time something dies anywhere.
You collect Animus every time something dies.
On the map, which can be used to perform special rituals like summoning this capstone flying unit, the
Look
Flayed
at that.
Dragon. Animus.
Look at that. Can it stop flying, or does it have to be on the move constantly?
The Flayed Dragon.
And so, okay, wait. Is it you get only one Flayed Dragon, or is there more than one?
Is anywhere on the map, which can be used to perform special rituals like summoning this capstone flying unit, the Flayed Dragon.
Okay. He said capstone flying unit. Would that mean that there is only one? Is it kind of like a hero unit? And you use it to summon that. So you have to kill enough. So it almost feels like it's kind of like a pretty sick snowball mechanic, right? Because this is the same race where the two-headed ogre guy can split into two weaker small units, like Zerglings, basically. So, interesting. So then you get enough kills, you probably accumulate, I guess, enough Animus to either build a structure that summons this or summon it outright. I'm not clear on what this does. It looks like it's... just trying to read the panel down here. 450 and 900. So that's probably the white HP bar. 900 is probably its core HP. Do your own units drop Animus? Good question.
Animus is collected by all Infernal players simultaneously, so in Infernal versus Infernal games, you can expect a pretty chaotic mirror match.
Ooh. That's interesting. So, okay. Yeah. So, no matter what, even if you're losing a bunch of units, you're collecting Animus, right? I wonder, yeah, I don't know how that would, that's very interesting. That's going to play a very cool role in the mirror matchup.
Many Infernal units also benefit from your own side taking losses in other ways. This is the Brute, who reminds
Okay, so this is the Ogre Mage guy that splits in two.
me a little bit of the two-headed Ogre Mage from Warcraft.
Well, none of my ideas are original. Sorry, guys. Great commentary here by me.
He's a big, tanky frontline fighter, but if he's not getting along with his better half, he can literally rip himself in two and spawn two Fiends, who are sort of the Zerglings of the Infernal Host. There's even an upgrade that causes this to happen automatically whenever a Brute dies. Fiends are fast and deadly, but their regular health bar starts dropping automatically the moment they come into existence. You can keep them alive longer by putting them on Shroud, since their white health won't decay.
Oh.
But it's usually not a very efficient use of your population cap to just keep a bunch of them around, so it's better to just send them off to fall in glorious battle before time.
So it's basically like Broodlings, but actually kind of interesting. StarCraft 1, I mean, you could forget that the Broodling was even in the game. StarCraft 2, that was kind of cool that it came out of buildings, but it didn't make for the most interesting situations. You know, they never lasted that long, but this is kind of a cool idea.
Its toll. Your other basic infantry unit is the Gaunt.
Gaunt present.
Where's the
These
Gaunt?
pointy little dudes with a glaive attack that can bounce to multiple enemies.
They kind of look like the Troll Witch Doctor. Remember Heroes of the Storm, the Troll Witch Doctor? I guess it was probably also a unit in WoW. Did they have that in Warcraft 2? I think that was only in Warcraft 3.
They're most effective in large groups, and their unique upgrade allows them to pay a little bit of health to make their glaives temporarily spread an infest status effect to enemy units.
Infest status effect. I wonder what does that mean?
Any unit that dies while infested spawns a Fiend.
Ooh. Is that the same little Zergling guy that came from the Ogre? I'll be in Atlanta. Neat, Pete.
You may see where this is going. A front line of upgraded Gaunts and Brutes can turn into an absolute doom tide of Fiends, even if you're taking much heavier losses than the enemy, which turns the momentum of the battle around fast. Note that Stormgate is still being actively balanced, and since the Infernal Host is the newer faction, they're not quite as balanced as the poor human vanguard here. That's not the only way to use Infest, though.
Excuse me.
Remember this big guy?
Yeah.
The Flayed Dragon can inhale the Infest effect from all nearby units affected by it.
What?
Inflicting damage on them and topping off the...
Wait, hold on. My brain is not big enough to process that. I got to watch that again. Looking forward to getting your Tastosis shirt signed if possible. Yeah, dude. I would be absolutely happy to sign your shirt. I need to rewatch this. Some of this stuff is a lot for my brain to take in. Hold on.
That's not the only way to use Infest, though. Remember this big guy? The Flayed Dragon can inhale the Infest effect from all nearby units affected by it, inflicting damage on them and topping off the white health of his nearby allies. He's
Wow, so it's both a damage and a buff at the same time. Hey, thank you for the sub, Anus baby. I appreciate it. You're going to be in Atlanta. You're going to see me there, man.
kind of like a frostworm on steroids. The best counter seems to be not letting your opponent get one in the first place.
So this kind of reminds me of like carriers. StarCraft 1 more than StarCraft 2 a little bit. But definitely one of those units where like once this thing comes into play, you're probably boned. So it's probably about trying to deny the game getting to this point. It could be totally wrong. It's going to be fun, by the way, to cast this game because I am not an expert. Like, I'm going to try to do as much research as possible, but yeah, I mean, if you remember my very first few StarCraft 2 casts for like day one of GSL, it was like, okay, we're going to try to figure out how the pros play, but it's going to be something you got to learn as you go along.
I got to see a couple more Infernal units too. This is the Weaver, a big, slow, spidery
This is what Tastosis looks like coming out of the shower to get a towel.
thing that can
Walking
tell
on
an
a
enemy
wet
to get
floor.
over here, like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
Okay, so it's got a harpoon. Hold on, let's go back.
Couldn't get one in the first place. I got to see a couple more Infernal units too. This is the Weaver, a big, slow, spidery thing that can tell an enemy to get over here.
Okay, so it's kind of like the Viper, but on the ground. It looks like it has a physical attack.
Like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
Pretty
It can
slow,
also
though.
see up smaller cliffs due to
Almost feels like it's as slow as a queen. StarCraft 2 queen, I mean. Off creep.
being so tall.
Clearly, by the way, not getting
The
a...
Magmadon-
Wait, what did he say? Sorry, man, I'm like talking. Sorry.
To being so tall. The magma
What
need
happens?
to get over here, like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. They can also see up smaller cliffs.
Oh, they
due
could
to being
see up smaller cliffs. Okay, so that's interesting. So you could use this to spot. See, these are really interesting little subtle things for each of the units that make them where you can have some pretty cool, interesting strats.
so tall. The Magmadon here, which gives me Kodo Beast vibes, can charge through most enemy ground units, pushing them out of the way and allowing it to get to the softer back line. The Doombringer is an air transport.
I want to watch that again. The Kodo Beast guy.
They can also see up smaller cliffs due to being so tall. The Magmadon here, which gives me Kodo Beast vibes,
The Kodo Beast basically gave a buff to all your units, if I remember right.
can charge through most enemy ground units, pushing them out of the way and allowing it to get to the softer back line. The Doombringer is an air transport that
Totally reminds me of the Goblin Zeppelin.
creates a radius of shroud around it when deployed.
Okay, and it lands. So it's like a drop overlord Goblin Zeppelin. But it drops shroud.
Though it has to touch grass to do so. Kind of like a warp prism that's a bit more vulnerable to
Touch grass. It's something we've never done, right, guys? Yeah.
counterattack. The Infernal Host is the kind of RTS faction that takes some getting used to, in contrast to the more standard Vanguard. But it really is a riot once you get the hang of it, with battles that look hopeless to a newcomer turning into a clean sweep, as the ground is replaced with fiends and your enemy winds up completely inundated by death. They share some traits with factions in this team's past work, but are very much their own thing. If you want to try them out yourself, the pre-launch page for the Stormgate Kickstarter is now live. For more on the latest upcoming video games, don't miss our recent hands-on look at Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. And for
Very
everything
exciting.
else, stick with IGN.